The real truth is there's no secret. Michael Vassos here from Way Too Famous. Sometimes I get asked when I'm doing a gig or when I get called up on short notice, how do I remember so many songs so quickly? Or if I'm at my jam, and how do I know so many songs? Like, how can I remember all these songs? The real truth is there's no secret. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of listening and repetition, over and over and over and over again. Like there's just no replacing that. Um, some guys can just walk in and there's just their ears take over and they hear a song once and bang, they've got it, and they're really lucky. Other people, like myself, you got to work at it. You got to play the songs over and over again and again. Um, in the studio, it's different because sometimes you're trying to do something really quickly, so you'll chart something. But just to give you an idea how great some guys in the studio are, there's a story of a guy named James Jamerson, who's bass player on all the old Motown hits. And there's a legendary story that he was supposed to be in doing a session with these guys and he forgot and he'd been out to the bar doing something. And they pulled him in and he was so drunk, he couldn't sit up and play the charts or play the parts. So they literally lay him down on the floor and he played all the songs on his back uh, perfectly without basically, he wasn't really looking at any charts or anything, just feeling it and listening. And his ear just took over and he just knew where he was going. So one of the gigs I did on very short notice was for a band called Harem Scarum, and they had a handful of dates where they were going over to Europe. And I got asked about this, and I talked about it earlier. Um, and I had about 2.5 weeks, I guess, maybe 3 weeks, maybe less, to learn their full set of 16 songs. Um, and those songs, even though the structures of the songs are pop structures, are rock songs, um, they're not easy. The guitar player, Pete Lesperance, is a great guitar player. And so there's a lot of traffic in them, as they say. There's a lot of parts, a lot of different changes, a lot of notey stuff. So when I heard the stuff, I'd only heard a handful of songs beforehand. And when I actually got the material to listen to, I'm like, how am I going to learn 16 songs in this amount of time? Now, someone might say, 2 weeks is plenty of time. It's easy, man, cake and pie. Not so much, because it's one thing to play a song like you just learned it yesterday. And it's another to play a song for a festival crowd of like 5,000 people and making it sound like you're the guy that played on the album. And that's what they needed. That they needed a guy that could really pull this off. So um, there's no secret to it. The only way I could do it was literally immerse myself, just repetition, hours and hours of listening, playing along, and really, repeating the songs over and over. And I literally turned radio off and TV off and everything. I only heard those songs. Every time I put on headphones, it was only those songs. Um, and as I was listening more and more, I'd have to break it up. And the way I'd break it up is first I would frame the songs. Okay. And to explain that, I'm going to show you something. Okay. So first I would frame the song. And basically what that means is I'd start going, okay, starts with an intro, then goes to a verse, then there's a little turnaround kind of thing, then another verse, and then there's a little pre-chorus and then chorus. And the chorus goes twice. Okay. So I would literally write it out like that. I'd frame the song. So I'd have like intro, verse, and I'd write this down on a piece of paper as if I was charting the song. Because I'm a street guy. I'm not a highly trained guy that reads charts, no problem, sight reading. Like that's not me. That's not where I come from. So the only way I could do it was this way. So I'd frame the song. And that way I knew as I'm looking at my paper, okay, here comes the chorus. Right. Okay. Got it. Okay. And then there's a verse. Right. And then there's this little turnaround thing. Right. So I start to get a feel for how each song is set up, the structure of the whole tune from beginning to end. Okay. Then I started to get more involved in it. And then I start writing basically my own type of chord charts. Some of the charts that are used by guys are more of a Nashville system, which is a number system, where they literally write Roman numerals telling you what the chords are. Okay. Now, to most people, they look at that and go, what does that mean? Okay. And the whole thing is depending on the key you're in, once you know the key of the song, every note is a step on the scale of that key. And you can actually write out those chords. So let's say it's something like this. This is a blues structure of a 1-4-5, although it's not written as 1-4-5 because I don't play a lot of blues. So this is a 1-5-4-5-1. Okay. And This is a really fast way and quick way. And in the studio, guys do this all the time when they're learning off a demo. They go, okay, so it's the 1 chord. Oh, okay, it's the 5 chord. Okay, there's the 1 chord. There's the 4 chord. Okay, that sort of thing. And it helps them write out charts really quickly. To give you an idea what that would sound like, this Roman numeral chicken scratch of mine, I've written underneath what the actual changes would be in G. So I'm going to put this down and play it for you real quick. Okay, so the 1 chord, G, is here. The 5 chord is a D. The 4 chord's a C. And then back to the 5 chord and back to the 1. So I would do the same thing with the, except either with letters or with numerals for the songs I was learning for Harem Scarum. So you basically, okay, yeah, the verse is that chord. Okay, and then it goes to there. Right? Okay, so there's my verse. Okay. And then you can get more intricate. You start writing things out like the rhythmic content. So it's like 2 strokes per bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing. It's just counting out the beats, and you can notate that. Again, regardless of how you decide to chart it, whether you want to use Roman numerals, whether you want to write out full charts with everything sight read, every note on it, however you write chord charts, okay? In the end, you can play it, but if you're still reading that piece of paper while you're playing, by the time it's showtime, that's not rocking. It's not rock and roll, so to speak. There's a lot of guys that do it, and they do it great. But for me, it doesn't work. I have to know the song. So it goes right back to the very beginning. It's just hard work and repetition, and there's no other way around it. One other reason you want to write everything down as far as like framing and charts and all that, okay? And again, however your chart makes sense to you, awesome. It doesn't have to look like, if someone else looks at it and goes, I don't understand what it means, that's not what's important. What's important is that it helps you remember the song, right? There's a scientific proven fact that if you use more than one sense, all the senses, okay? So you're hearing the song, okay? And then you're taking that information in and you're physically writing things such as lyrics or chords. That whole thing starts to get your brain and your system working in a particular cycle, a particular way. It helps you remember. It's a scientific thing. It's just the way it works. And then you're reading it and then maybe even speaking it like G, G, D, G, whatever. It involves more than one sense, more than two sense. It helps you remember songs much better. It helps you remember anything for that matter. Perfect example. I see this with guys reading lyrics on stage all the time saying, well, don't worry. By the time I read the lyrics the third time, I'll remember them all. But the guy's reading 20 songs. So there's no way he can remember them all. So he basically keeps reading and reading and reading. And then it's showtime and he puts the paper away and suddenly he's like, where's the paper? I've seen it. It's happened to me. I thought, yeah, I can do this. No. Whenever I wrote a song out, as opposed to just like took the lyrics from somewhere like on a sheet of paper that was already printed out and I just read it, it's never been as good. I've always had to go back to the lyric sheet. It never fails. If I write it out and if I'm listening and literally humming the lyric or humming the melody as I'm writing the song, by the time I'm done that song, I pretty much know it. I've written it out. So it's my handwriting and it's me. It's almost like you're taking it in and then you're putting it out. You're the one actually filtering it and creating it. It just works better. Try it. It's going to work. I swear it'll work. Scientific fact. Try it. Once again, I'm Michael Vassos from Way Too Famous. Thanks for listening. Hopefully some of these pointers will help you learn songs quickly and retain them for long periods of time. And remember, do it the way you got to do it, but it's hard work and repetition. That's the secret, which is no secret at all. Please, if you enjoyed this, come to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.